Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasin the Racin.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin, episode 89. And we're delighted to be joined by 2-time TT winner Ivan Lintin. How are we doing, Ivan?
As well as we can be. Obviously, the pandemic and our mate COVID, he's about everywhere, isn't he? But it is what it is. We're still here and we're getting by.
Brilliant. Good man. I tell you what, he's been here for 5 minutes and he's already got his trophy whapped out on the table. Yeah. Doesn't take you long, does it, son?
It's the big guy. You got to have a big guy out, haven't you?
Oh, it's got to be done. But you've got 2 of them. So where's the other one at the moment then?
She's talked away. It's nearly bedtime, isn't it?
Is this your first or your second one?
No, that is the first.
2015.
Yeah. So it was only a 3-lap race then 16 we did 4 laps. So
there we go. Then completed the job properly. But first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. For me, it's a big moment. You know, you're a TT winner. We don't get many of those when you think about it, do you, Chrissy? You know, so it's absolutely great to have you on. It's great to see you full of life, full of step in you. You know, pep in your step. Even they are going to get me words right. Pep in your step. Is that even a thing?
I don't think so.
Is pep in your step a thing?
I've never heard of it. Like,
I don't know.
I used to have a cat called Pepper.
Right. There we are.
But
Pep in the step.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But we're just saying, you haven't seen this show before, have you?
No.
I didn't know. Well, basically, like I was just saying to Dom, one episode 89, and
we were guessing that 2 minutes ago. To be fair, weren't we?
Basically, we sit down with people from the sport in different ways. We've had loads of guests from riders to team managers, mechanics, that type of thing, and just like sort of hear some stories from like behind the scenes and how you got into racing and that type of thing. Now, we bumped into someone today that knew you from years ago, and they were saying that you were originally into flat track or speedway and trials and all kinds.
Yeah.
What was the first discipline that you started with?
Well, I suppose as a kid, as a 2-year-old, I QR50. So obviously used to belt around the woods and stuff. And then I don't know if I was 3 or 4, but I ended up crashing into a tree. Then that scared me. So I don't like that anymore. And then because Dad used to race sidecars, he used to grass track race and he raced sidecars. So...
All right, on Tarmac. So sidecar,
he did the Southern 100 and stuff. He never did the TT, but he did Southern twice, I think.
Right, so considering that's like the Southern is a proper gnarly track, and it's like, so why did he not venture down the TT route?
I don't really know entirely, but obviously, like he used to do Scarboroughs and stuff. So if you do Scarboroughs and Southern, it might have been costs and just the ins and outs of actually doing the TT on a sidecar isn't as easy as you'd imagine, really.
Right.
And he just used to do it. He used to travel with a sidecar in a trailer to race meetings and stuff and just bits and bobs like that.
Fantastic. So was he a driver or a passenger?
He was a driver.
Right. Who was his passenger?
A man called Tim Dickson. He lives in Foxdale in the Isle of Man now.
Right. Oh, so he ventured over there straight away.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But... Sorry, this coffee, your fiancée there, mate. Congratulations on the engagement, by the way. Very good. How's she putting up with all the chat about motorcycles? Was she from a motorcycling world?
No, not from motorcycling world at all. And we had been together only 6 months when the Southern happened and whatever. Right. So it was all a bit new to her. And she come over to TT actually in 18. She was there for a week, so you only saw practice week. And then I think she see the Superbike race on Saturday and then disappeared off for home.
Ideal, but no, she's still putting up with you.
Yeah, entirely. That's the thing, isn't it?
Good on her. No,
she'll be popping back in after I think she's done the tea. So
I know we're both just staring at the door here.
Yeah, we might end up getting some stories. But sorry, so you were up to from the age of 5. You crashed into a tree and you thought this isn't for me.
Yeah, but then. Dad used to make me sidecars out of like mopeds and like C90s, so we'd make some rigid, or he'd make some rigid forks for a little C90 and then lower it and then weld a sidecar to the side, and we used to mess about on them like little scooters with sidecars on and stuff. So I did that for probably a few years, maybe till you was 8 or 10 or something, but just that side of things. And obviously used to go racing week in, week out with it. And then there used to be a man called Pete Boast who runs the flat track school, Boasty. I think he's been on one of these shows as well.
Yes, we were just about it. He is keeping an eye on the ball then, because I look constantly.
But no, that's what I mean. When I've seen your bits, what you do, I can remember Boast being on. But I used to go speedway racing with him, and we used to go, because he used to race for Sheffield and stuff, and we used to go to Sheffield meetings. My dad used to mechanic for him, and I was like the old boy sort of hanger-on, stand carrier and bits and bobs like that. And through all that, Dad built me a CG125 engine speedway bike, and I basically learned how to do speedway. And then we progressed to a 250 engine speedway bike, and then following that we got a proper 350 Westlake speedway, and we bought one of Boastie's 500 Westlakes.
Yeah, do you know what? I once did a sort of practice day on a speedway bike, and we're just sort of messing around on these little ones on this sort of practice track, and then the guy gives a little go of the 500 on the big track.
Oh, they are proper things.
The acceleration on them things is literally out of this world. Like just paces all over a super bike.
Well, it's like the 0 to 60 or not. They don't maybe do 60, 80 mile an hour, don't they? But it is sort of fairly instant.
On a very, very, very small track, it'll feel like 160 mile an hour on those things.
And no brakes as well.
No brakes, you got a clutch, no gears, and you got nothing else to worry about apart from...
Pin it.
Yeah.
So did you race sort of nationally with that, or was it just...
No, I was, as a 15-year-old, I was good enough that Mildnor wanted to sign me, and maybe Sheffield wanted to sign me for their Conference League team, but the old man had just opened a shop called Bardney Racing doing race fairings and stuff, and he said, I'm not sort of going to get you to sign for a team because he needs to run a business as opposed to travelling up and down the country night in, night out with me as a old boy. And then sort of probably did it till I was 16, then you're beginning to sort of drift out of that thing and then don't do it anymore.
Bloody hell. So at 15 you were getting signed.
With people willing and interesting to do like second half rides for them and Conference League rides and stuff.
Bloody so we don't know, to be fair, we don't know a lot about, I know nothing about Speedway, but you can make a couple of quid, can't you, at Speedway?
Yeah, but again, it's all to do with what league you're in. So Conference League team, that per point they'll maybe get bloody 20 quid, 30 quid and stuff.
Right.
And then Premier League, which is second division, or used to be second division, they call them stuff different now. But then you maybe get 80 quid, £100 a point. Then Elite League, which is top level, would be £115, £200. So you could go to a speedway match, scamper around, get 2 points and get a couple of £100, it'd be okay, and get people to pay your diesel and stuff. But then the top boys who will be scoring 12, 15 point maximums, they'll be walking away with
sheets.
Yeah. but then pro speedway riders will race in this country, then fly to Poland, and then do a meeting in Poland, then fly to Sweden. They'll ride for 3 different teams, and they'll literally have bikes and mechanics in each country and just literally fly from place to place.
You can race like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds amazing.
Well, it is amazing, but then if your mortgage is paid by Speedway, it's a completely different kettle of fish. You're under pressure to get results. You're under pressure to do this and do that.
It's a much bigger sport in the likes of Poland and stuff. They sell out stadiums, and
it's his biggest sport in Poland, bigger than football.
Bloody! I'll tell you what. We just had the Birchall brothers on, and we were talking about the niche, what was the word? Like niche markets and stuff, and how it's like a community based. Speedway for me is very much like that. You don't we like us lot being road racers, tarmac lads. I don't hear anything about Speedway.
No,
it's one of those things. Though, once you're into it, you'll know all the racing, and you'll know all the riders. And,
exactly, that's it. I wonder if they know about us spending tens of thousands of pounds.
Well, that's the thing. Obviously, I don't know how regular top-level speedway bikes are ever rebuilt or run and stuff. I mean, I don't know at Grand Prix level whether they just have an engine for a meeting, say, but that running will only be 5 minutes. You've got 5 races for a minute, so that engine has to last 5 minutes. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. So you don't know if that's what the rebuild issues are with them like.
So at a young age, were you already getting hands-on with the mechanics? Were your dad opening a shop? Were you already switched on at that point?
Well, as switched on as you can be. Obviously, you're growing up, aren't you? So you're trying to learn what you can, but obviously the hobby or the weekends we're doing speedway and we actually had our own practice track and stuff. That's why Boastie sort of started coming in with us, because he could practice on our track. We had the Bardney Airfield, where I used to live in Bardney Airfield. My Uncle John had a piece of land, and we basically built our own track there.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is fantastic. Imagine that, like bloody.
It was obviously shorter than a proper Sweden track, so he's probably talking 150 yards, 200 yards, but it was still
better than nothing.
Yeah, as an old boy on a 250 practice bike, like quite good.
Yeah, I bet. So when was your first introduction to the Tarmac?
I would say Supermoto. So from sort of Speedway, we evolved into Supermoto, and that was a very much village thing again, that there was probably 4 or 5 of us from the same village, all raced Supermoto. Some of them were road racers, did a bit of Supermoto. I was obviously a motocrosser and speedwayer that went to do Supermoto. But all of us used to just go in a transit van to a meeting. We used to sleep on the floor of the transit van or whatever. There'd be 5 of us piled in a tranny with 5 bikes, and we'd go racing. And we did the British Championship in 03, 04 Supermoto. But obviously, you get going faster and you get hitting the floor more and more regular. And all the floor hits meant broken collarbones at the time. And with my primary job at Siemens, I was a maintenance fitter, coming out of my apprenticeship, obviously evolving into engineering.
And this is the 16, 17 age bracket.
Yeah. So I got an apprenticeship when I was 16.
Yes.
I never went to college, never got a job anywhere else. It was Alstom back then, but to be a gas turbine apprentice fitter. So you get going.
Was that just the option at the time? I've never heard a young man go, I'm going to grow up to be a gas turbine fitter.
No, it was just an engineering job, because you into messing about, fiddling about with stuff, stripping stuff and meching stuff. Then an engineering job was sort of the only avenue to go down.
Yes.
I wasn't particularly interested in button pressing or keyboards or anything like that, but that side of things interests me. So I had that at 16, and when we got Supermoto in, obviously quite good at it. I think I had like a 10th at a British Championship round somewhere, and just hit the floor fairly regular. And every floor hit was a broken collarbone. And especially when we got to the end of my apprenticeship, so we're talking 18, 19 now, my boss sort of said, we don't really want to employ you because you're having too much time off through bloody broken collarbones, and the injury was through
hospital visits.
Yeah, well, hospital visits and just stupid fall off, break your collarbone. You're like, oh, here we go, 2 or 3 weeks off again.
Did you ever lie to your gaffer? You know, say, well, I brought me board on the bike last week, so I better blame the push bike or the...
No, it was always right. Yeah, so I told the line and sort of gave that up.
Right.
Gave you job up or gave
gave Supermoto up. Right. Sort of think, well, okay, I'll get rid of them. I'm fed up hitting the floor now. So when would that be? That'd probably be 04. And then 05 sort of got knocking about a little bit with Guy Martin. Because he'd be quite a close friend back then. So you'd go to the Southern, you'd go to race meetings with him. I went to the TT, I think, to watch in 04. Again, just to watch Guy Lady in Hedgerow and stuff. We went to the... What's the campsite? Is it Quarterbridge campsite there? And
the rugby pitch,
just got pissed for like most spectators do.
And when you were watching the bikes then, was it the sort of a itch to scratch, so to speak?
See, I was
like, did you see it and think, ooh, I would like to go at that?
No, it was just, well, I wouldn't say you didn't ever want to not have a go, but you was proper just a spectator. You weren't racing, you weren't doing anything else. You was like, laid in the head, oh, fucking beer's good, this is good, and feeling rough in the morning. That's all you'd ever worry about, not going down Bray Hill at 180 mile per hour or doing the fastest lap or anything like that. But you was there with someone else. You wanted him, have a good race and do this and do that. You were sort of a mechanic or a right-hand person or whatever.
Mm-hmm. See, normally, like, I'm a little bit shocked by this because normally it's like a bit of a backwards tale. You normally go into something and go, I want to do that. You've actually lived backwards of like, you've almost had your retirement first, and then you've gone into like, I'm fed up with drinking and partying and fucking on. I better become a racer.
Oh yeah, and I'm not really. I'm in the retirement now. I'm nowhere near the whole drinking thing either. Well, that's for a different reason.
There we go.
So yeah, obviously went around doing that with Guy, and the whole reason really I got circuit racing was because of Guy's brother. Guy's brother Stuart is who I bought my first race bike off.
And what bike was that then?
Honda Hornet. So I did
Honda Hornet?
Yeah, I did the New Era Honda Hornet series. There was a one-make series. They used to race CBs at BSB level, and they used to race CBs at New Era level, and then used to race Honda Hornets. Again, you just roll up on the grid, you had 87 horsepower limit or something. You had a horsepower limit, and that was it. You'd go racing.
I didn't even know Guy had a brother.
Yeah.
I've always known he's had a sister, but I've never known Guy.
Stu Martin.
There we are.
Did he race himself as well?
Yeah. He raced a Honda Hornet for a year before I bought it off him, and the only reason I felt guilty and bought it off him because we went to Mallory Park and obviously he was in that circle, so he was like, "Oh, come and have a go at this." So I took my leathers and we forged the wristband thing like you do at track days and stuff. so I went out for a session on his Honda Hornet and ended up falling off it, coming out that stupid S's. Is it Edwina's?
Edwina's old.
Yeah,
God,
yeah. I signed coming out of there, and I thought, well, this is on a bike I don't own, so okay, I'll buy it off you. So I ended up buying it off him.
Emotional blackmail into a bike.
pretty much.
Sorry, son. So hold on, the Honda Hornet, was that an inline? That wasn't a twin, was it?
No, it was inline 4.
It was an inline 4, so
Yeah,
the CVs are twins, though, aren't they? Parallel twins.
Yeah, it was a CBR engine, basically, a detuned CBR engine.
Right, there you go. No, I was wondering whether I was getting mixed up with the Hornets and the CVs there.
Yeah.
But like you say, a different bike. So you bought the bike, and you thought, right, what am I going to do with this now? I'm going to have to go and do it full time, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, you tick the box of going club racing at New Era, and you just travel around the country, go up and down here racing. But New Era used to run 2 different clubs. They used to have club level racing and Super Club. Super Club was like nearly a national level meeting,
Right.
And then Club was just like a proper club race. But it was mainly the same people did it. Like I did both, and then you'd finish second or first at club races. Then you go to Super Club and probably end up second or first or win. So in that year, so we're talking 06, I will have finished second, I think, in Super Club and third in club, but that would have been lack of results and stuff. But just quite good. You're sort of getting the inkling of circuit racing, but certainly for a start, I rode a circuit bike like my Supermoto. So you'd be going round corners. Well, nearly like legs. I would have the bike at phenomenal lean angle. I'd get photographs of me like that on bikes going round places you'd have your knee planted
You
on.
were going to have to dig a photo out like that and put it on. It would be a head turner.
Do you know Jake Dickson, Moto 2 rider?
Yeah.
When,
Not personally.
When Jake first started Super Teens, his first ever race, he came from Supermoto, and he was like sat exactly what you've just said. He was sat right on top of the bike, pushing the bike down, and he had the biggest high side coming out of clearways, and the bike sort of clipped him as he was cartwheeling. And honestly, he could have easily really hurt himself.
Right.
But then I think that was his warning that you need to like go with the bike rather than against it.
You need to hang off it, and it was just very. I would say it took me a year. Easily to get your knee planted, and obviously as you evolve through years and years, like on modern day stuff now, we have to hang off it and nearly get your elbow scraping away, don't you?
It's mad that now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's stupid, really.
You're not a fan of the elbow down?
No, not at all.
You see,
I get my elbow down sometimes. It's closely followed by your arse and your helmet and stuff, innit?
I'm fully the same. Like, he's an elbow. I do like the style, when you watch it. I'm a big, but I've never ever been like, I tried it on a pit bike, did it once, went, that's me, ticking in a box. I was like, right, that's done. I'll proper shit myself.
Well, it'd be like, I've seen something on social media about the Doohan and Marquez.
Brilliant photo.
Yeah, brilliant photographs of the same corner, and the riding style differences are ridiculous, really, aren't they?
It's an exact overlap, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you look at the tyres and the bikes and everything, and it is phenomenal. That is a fantastic photo. And like you say, because even like Steph Bradle was doing the elbow down before Marquez, but then you follow the fast lads. We've mentioned this on the pod hundreds of times. But you do, don't you? Think, well, why is he winning? Is it because of that? And you go from there.
You just get processing stuff through your head, and then because they're beating you, you have to sort of do what they're doing to prove if that's why they're going so fast or not.
Exactly.
It's just a psychological thing to yourself. Because if you still don't do what they do and they beat you again, you're like, fucking hell, I should have been doing that, shouldn't I?
I'm a bit too late. Imagine that.
Well, it'll be more in your world as short circuit racing than our world in the roads, won't it?
I totally agree. There are you're very bang on with that, because like roads, so many different styles.
Yeah.
Isn't there? he's on the ball. He's on the ball. No, you're right, because like when you watch you lads, there's like a train of 6 of you doing the exact same style. The only style that I thought never ever caught on was at Luke Stableford at 600. He used to take his opposite foot off.
Did. He was hanging.
Lee Jackson does that as well.
Does he?
Well, is it a small person thing? Because Lee's small, isn't he? Well, Lee is small, isn't he? He's a small lad.
Compared to you, he is.
I know. How tall are you?
6 foot, I would say.
Jesus, your bloke size. I'm even shorter than him.
I thought it was on about waist size and weight then.
But I'll tell you what, we were actually talking about this beforehand, and you were like Chris, you were like, I wait BSB, and what do you make of the BSB? I'm leading you into this because we're talking about it beforehand. What a great comment you did before.
Well, it's okay, I suppose, isn't it? It is what it is. Mm-hmm. Is again going back to watching shit on telly. You would see a good race. It don't matter if it's 125s, if it's a scooter race. As long as it's a good race, it don't really matter. Yeah. But you do get some races at BSB, and if you're watching it on telly, I would never watch it on telly all day whatsoever. Yeah. I would record it, and then you can fast forward through the shit races, and anything that's a good race to physically see, you would sit and watch it.
I do the exact same. Yeah. It is brilliant though. Like a good race, it doesn't matter what bike you're on.
No, not at all.
It always is a good. Like Moto3. Do you been watching the MotoGP at all this year?
No, not really.
Not really. No. We kind of have to do it really on this show, but it's this year has been absolutely phenomenal in MotoGP. Okay. There've been so many different winners. Right. You ever get a moment?
No, that is good, isn't it? Because MotoGP always used to be Marquez dicking off, and everyone bloody.
It's opened it right up this year, and there was I can't remember how many winners overall, but there was loads, and it was anyone's game, and like people were qualifying like 12th, and then they were coming through and winning the race.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really unpredictable. It was good. So we got up to the Honda Hornet, and from there, was it you finished second and third, and did you think?
Yeah, second and third. Well, where you go from there, you can either have another season at that and try and do something, or then I got a GSXR 600 K1 and sort of evolved into the 600 class. That is the class to do whatever, and then sort of went 600 racing. But you're 600 racing, that would be 07, so you're racing on a K1 against K7s and early R6s and stuff, so you're on a bike that isn't really up to scratch, but it's all you could afford at the time, because you used to do it on me basically apprentice wage from Siemens and stuff, and it's just do what you can with what you've got. But then 07 I spoke to Billy McKinstry first time, and that's when I drifted into roads, because he invited me over to do Tandragee. So I had a conversation with him at Mallory, but I had a conversation with someone who knew him, but I can't remember who it was. And then he said, speak to this man, he wants a rider or something. So I spoke to Billy, and he said, come over and give it a go. So I went to the Tandragee as a newcomer in theory to road racing, and he had a GSXR 750, so never rode anything that big, but come here and do a road race you've never done and just see how you get on, sort of thing. So we had a fourth, and in the second,
your first time going straight,
and the second race, I was second to McKnight, but got the fastest lap of the race and broke that record. So then you think, well, this is okay, really. I'm fairly into this. And you walk away for your 2 days, you probably walk away with 150 quid, 200 quid. Or you could go to a short circuit and spend £1,000 and win a little plastic trophy if you're very lucky. So come away with that. And that was on a Friday and Saturday. And because you're a short circuit racer in the UK, I got a ferry. I drove, after the race finished, drove straight to Belfast, ferry over to Stranraer, and drove down to Snetterton for a short circuit meeting on the Sunday Monday, because it was Easter weekend.
For people that don't know that distance as well, Stranraer to Snetterton,
it's over 300 miles. It's a fair drive. We did it just under 5 hours. We're quite happy with that, really. But we arrived at Snetterton like early 3s, maybe 4s o'clock, and then 2 or 3 hours sleep, then do a short circuit meeting in this country.
Good effort, that, Ivan.
But you're doing your short circuit thing, aren't you? So we never want to give that up, because that's sort of what you've learned into, and that's the thing.
You see, a lot of my friends who do the road racing, now, to be very blunt, because they've had the ultimate experience of road racing, they find short circuits well, they were found a bit boring, even though it's not. If you push on, it's far from boring. But that's a very interesting. I don't think anyone's ever done that, really, have they? Gone straight from a road, like down Racin.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. It was because he used to race in Northern Ireland, you race Friday, Saturday, don't you? Then Southern Ireland, you race Sunday, Monday. So it was literally a Friday, Saturday meeting, then an overnight ferry, then a Sunday, Monday meeting in this country.
So how did you find? What did you find of Snetterton after that? After you've gone round Tarmac, which is like a motocross track, isn't it?
I can't remember entirely, but obviously you've got the hint and draw of road racing that you earn 150 quid. So then obviously spoke to Billy again, and it was the Northwest, then it was the TT, but the one after that was the Bush. Like the next national Irish stuff was the Bush. So I thought, I'm going to go and do that. I'll quite enjoy that. 150 quid, see what we can win at this. So I went to Bush and won all 3 sport races. There was 2 750 sport races and 1 400 sport. Won them all, come away with £1,000, got man of the meeting, and you think, well, this fucking road racing's quite good fun, isn't it? As opposed to it costing you 100 quid. I've come here, I had to pay for a back tyre and a bit of fuel and stuff, and then bloody made £1,000.
Cleaned up, happy days.
Yeah.
And did you do the Manx before the TT?
Yeah, I did Manx for 3 years.
3 years.
Was it 3 years?
Yeah.
Right.
First year there, what did you click with it straight away? Were you fast straight away?
No, well, I won't say I'm fast, but then again, it's...
What bikes did you take?
So, 07 I raced Billy's bikes in Ireland, and then that's the first time I raced a 250 was for Billy in Ireland. So we had a 400 for a start in Ireland, and then eventually it turned into a 250. But he told me, he said, don't rush to the Manx, you've got years to do the Manx. So in 08 I went to the Manx. So I went with a K7, which I had upgraded for myself for short circuit racing in this country. So I got a K7 600 for short circuit race, but then because in the Suzuki world you can swap the motors 750 and the ECU, and then it turns into a 750. So I did the 600 race at the Manx, the 750 senior race at the Manx with the same bike, just with different engine in.
Yeah.
And then rode Billy's 250 at the Manx.
That's a busy old time, that.
But it's just...
That's what you got to do, isn't it? There you go. So, what made you stay there for the 3-year period? Was it like?
Well, my speed's evolving, I suppose. So in my newcomers race, it was damp because in them days you still used to race in the wet. So I did my.
Let's crack on.
Well, I did my newcomers race on intermediates, but it was sodden. The whole track was sodden, and we only did a 2-lap race. And I was second in my newcomers, and the lad who beat me was Ryan Neen. But of course, Ryan Neen's a local.
Bloody hell.
So the second, I started number 1, he started number 2, and when he caught me, just followed him basically for the rest of the race. Finished 10 seconds behind him, whatever, but it was what it was.
Yeah.
and then the 600 race, I think the 600 was dry, and we probably did 114 laps, something like that.
That's Chasin, that
First time there?
Yeah.
Right.
That's serious.
And so second year, did you manage to get a podium or anything?
No, second year, instead of the 250, me and Dad built a SV 650 twin, which would be the drift into the twin world.
I was wondering when this connection was going to happen.
Yeah. And that would have been the Manx thing. And I think it was 4th or 5th that year. It was 4th one year, whether it was 2010 or 2009, and then was 5th the other year. But that was on twins again. But we had no podiums. My podium was only in 2010 on the 750. In the senior race. But again, you're there because you're not too far into the sport and it isn't your priority. Fitness wasn't as good as it was obviously at TT level and all that. So fastest lap of the race was my first lap because you got the most energy, and then it was just slower and slower and slower.
Hanging on.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so my first lap was in the senior in 2010. First lap was 119.
From standing start.
Yeah, and then would be to 118, 117, but it was just getting slower and slower, and it was just because you're blowing out your arse, basically, and not fit enough.
Was this before USN came on as a sponsor for you and sorted you out?
Yeah, you're like a sponsored athlete now. This is a bit of a shock to hear. We thought you'd be like wired to the moon.
No, but we're a few years in between, aren't we? We've done it.
This is great to hear this.
That was 2010. Obviously, 2011, you're going up to TT. Well, I went up to TT because you finished 3rd at the Manx, you'd done 119. You could again stay there, like in Hornet World. You could stay there and win But then what really benefit would that do you? Because you want to go fast, you want to tick the
next
box.
level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why, went up to the TT sort of thing.
And the first year you went to the TT, was that your own? Was it a case of you and your dad making bikes and doing it yourself, sort of thing?
Yeah, you just again home tune GSXRs. Used to fuck about in the garage, do tune, get them as best as you can. Study forums of what swap you should do with this and whatever, and just get them as good as you can, really. And that's the first year I ever did the senior, not senior. Right, start again. That's the first year I ever did the Super Twin race at the Southern, because at the post TT I raced the 650 and won the 650 race round there at the post 2011 post TT.
Bloody hell, that would have been, was that the last Suzuki win round there? That could be possible, you know. That could be the last SV650 to win that Super Twin race.
Maybe.
That could be. Bit of fact finding later on there for anyone listening. So
it's funny with the evolution of the twin class. We were talking about this a few podcasts ago. Years ago, a twin, you would get like a standard twin, which would maybe be 65, 70 horsepower. And then if you could tune them up and you could get over 80, you were doing well. And then the bar got lifted to like above 90.
Yeah.
And then nowadays it's above 100.
Yeah.
And we're just talking on the way down here about the new Aprilia, which is sort of coming into the mix of things. Mm-hmm. You've obviously got the Kawasaki's, which have been strong, the Patterns, and now the
Pattern is a Kawasaki.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, no, the chassis is totally different, but they used Kawasaki crankcases.
Yeah, so it's a fiddle, really.
It's a fiddle of a Kawasaki.
It's a pattern fiddle.
Well, and
this is Mr. TT, Mr. Super Twin.
This new Aprilia in road trim is apparently like over 90 brake horsepower just with an exhaust on. So if someone sort of takes that and does whatever they can to that, that might be a bit, in the mix.
It might be in the mix, but it will take an awful long while, and I would think realistically it will cost the same as an ER6.
Right.
Because as a standard bike, that will already evolved.
Yeah.
It will already have been tuned in not necessarily tuned, but the castings and everything will be how a ER6 super tuned engine is now.
Mm-hmm, yes.
So, and that's why they are so much horsepower stock, because they will have a lighter crank, they will have development rods, whereas an ER6 that you would go shopping on with 60 horsepower doesn't need all that because it only has 60 horsepower, where when you have an engine with 90 horsepower, they need a certain level of piston, a certain level of valve. To get that horsepower, they need a certain cam and all that.
Well, it's surely a good thing having another competitor. So,
yeah, massively.
And sort of driving competition.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting as, pros and cons of different bikes.
Yes.
It's nice to see.
It isn't that it should just be an ER6 core, which it shouldn't. It is good that they get them, but...
Because, like you say, the pattern was the cat amongst the pigeons, wasn't it? Really, I like to say it. Well, yes, it is a ER6 crankcases, but it was nice to have another flavour in there, and the Aprilia's stepping up to that mark. But
were you a fan of having the patterns in for the Super Twin race?
It was whatever it was, but why the rules were so far restricted on the ER6s when you have to do this, and this, you're not allowed to do this to the crank or whatever, because in the pattern world, they couldn't show you what their standard crank is. So they could, if you strip the engines down and they had, in 15, you're not allowed to do a lot to the cranks or anything.
You have to run a standard crank. It was the year after that you could run a billet crank, which was a stronger...
Yeah.
Now,
so in like 15, when they run them, I think it was 15 when they run them for the first time, but it was just that they could do whatever they wanted, and that's our standard road engine. Where's your proof that isn't our standard road engine? Whereas the R6, you know what a standard road engine's got, because there's, I was going to say a million then, 10,000 of them on the roads.
A proper homologated regs. I guess there might be... with the Norton's, what's it called, the Super Light thing, which Hickman's got and sort of taken on for the next TT. I guess there'll be similar sort of issues with that, where because it is a bit of a one-off, it's very difficult to police.
Well, it's very difficult to police at the same regulations they try and police the R6s. Mm-hmm. It's just a difficult thing. Like if you get a Norton winning, say, how can you say, well, that is the rules? Because Hickey could turn around and say, well, that's how they are as a road.
That's what I mean. Yeah, on one side, it's good to have different manufacturers and a point of interest, but you've got to make it fair. So I'm sure they'll manage to do so.
See, back in the day, I used to run a Tigcraft.
I'm glad you brought this up. I'm looking forward to it because you held the lap record around Oliver's Mount on this bike for a long time. So sorry, continue.
Well,
this
no, I was just going to
Tigcraft,
say it was something that they wouldn't allow at the TT because there's only one and it wasn't homologated. But then the pattern is built as a genuine race bike and it just sits there, but you're letting that run, so why not let a Tigcraft chassis run?
What is a Tigcraft?
Tigcraft is a chassis manufacturer. Used to, well, he still does it now. Back in the day, he runs a Moto 3 now, I think, at BSB level. There'll be a Tigcraft. You don't have a Tigcraft engine, they'll have an engine of something else, but Tigcraft will build the chassis and everything like that.
Like a proper
what engine did he run that? The ER engine, wasn't it?
Yeah, the ER engine.
So when he started out in Super Twin racing, the SV was the engine to have. It was actually by design a better engineered, like, you know, it was a V twin engine, wasn't it? So and then the parallel twin, they made less power. So as far as stock bikes went, the SV was better.
So they brought is it the Gladius out?
The Gladius. So it was slightly better, but even the older SVs, the round tube ones, handled better than the box frame ones. And then it was really, in my opinion, what really stepped up the game was like Ryan Farquhar. He found a market, and he developed it in fair play to him. And that's it. Once you start going, well, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do that, and it's a proper development class.
Yeah, definitely.
But your Tigcraft, it was fantastic. Like proper round tube frame, had an R6 swinging rear
it was
arm.
R6 swinging arm. It was. I was going to say R6 Force, but I don't know if it was maybe Triumph Force. But he used to run Triumph wheels, and it was all built. The chassis dimensions were a 250 GP bike.
So that, like, he went to Oliver. Your Oliver's Mount only recently got broken because of the good weather and by your good friend Adam Snow's bike with RC Express's bike, which is good that the lap record's gone back with them and Jamie's chasing down with. But that's years of development. But that Tigcraft, when did you set that lap record? That was
2014. That stood for 6 years, 7 years.
That is saying a lot, man, when you think of the talent that's going around that track, you know what I mean?
And that would even be me back in the day running the RC Express stuff. Mm-hmm. Obviously, wasn't bad on twins, but I could get within 150, but never got into the 49s on anything that wasn't Tigcraft. Mm-hmm. And it was only when we was there doing that meeting that we'd won one race or whatever, and I said to Carl, Carl Martin used to own it, Race Supplies Direct, and he...
shout out there, good man.
Okay,
gotta get it done.
We're just normally interviewing now.
Good.
It would be. I said, "I'll bung some tyres on it. We'll do a 49. I'll do a 49 in this one." So we put some new tyres in it and stuck my neck out for 2 or 3 laps, and obviously set the lap record. And that was sort of that. We've done that now.
Have to. And was it the twin class that you got your first podium at the TT?
Yeah, I haven't on a podium anything else. Yeah. It would only be twins, really. It'd be twins everywhere, really.
And did you get a podium before your race win, or was you the first podium, or? No,
win would be the first podium. I think in 14 I blew up. 14 I was fastest, and we got 2 miles with Billy.
You were flat, like that practice, you were untouchable. Yeah. Like Dean Harrison was like second behind on the RC Express bike at that time. And I remember watching the onboard footage. It's like, came out a quarter straight through Brand, and the bike...
And that was a quick shift fault.
Shut up, man.
It was only afterwards that we changed everything, because obviously it stopped the last night of practice before the race. So you've got a night to sort of try and change it. But it was Billy McKinstry's bike again, and we changed everything on it, but the quick shifter module, and it was just one of them things that when in certain circumstances, when it went to kill the ignition, it killed the whole thing, as opposed to the 70 millisecond or 80 millisecond time delay.
Oh God, I just remember you were not even 5 minutes into the race, and this thing just pulled up.
It'd be 2 miles in. But then, of course, when it's coasted, I let everyone come past and fired up perfectly well, and I rode it back on the back road home.
That's even worse.
But it's one thing. Shrug your shoulders, it was or it was.
But then you came back the following year, like you say, and you won that beautiful looking thing, didn't you? Straight away.
Do you remember that day? And what's your memory like of of your first race win?
Not brilliant, but I reckon that's more to do with the bang on the barnet than not remembering something like that. But it's only from really analysing stuff like lap times and bits and bobs that you could say, well, I've done this and I've done that.
We have got to talk about this right now. He came into the studio, obviously bringing his trophy. Where is all your paperwork? This is a brilliant... Now, for every TT, Manx Grand Prix rider, anyone who's done road race, have a look on the YouTube. Please click onto the YouTube and have a look at this. We are talking a full-on file of facts.
That's your full history of racing on the island, isn't it?
And
that is incredible.
That would only be because we got emails, every competitor at the Isle of Man, you'll have got one as well, that they was updating the timing system that you log on and do. And they said that obviously I was never going to log on again, really, but they said all this information will be gone. So I thought, most of that I'll have lying about anyway. So I just thought you can analyse every lap of every session, what you've done. So I thought to summarise that, I'll just do every result of every race I've been in with the lap times I've done in that race. So you sort of know that during conversations like this, or a conversation anyway, you can say, well, in 2014 on Wednesday so-and-so, I lapped at 120 mile an hour.
Yeah.
You've sort of got facts there.
That is class. I tell you what, I probably read the email and scoped over it. I should do that. That is the amount of achievements you've done in your career and everything. I think I need to pull my finger out and buy some paper and ink there and get on with it.
Just even if you can't remember it vividly, obviously knowing the fact that you've done it, and it's a lifelong ambition for anyone that competes on the island, isn't it, to get that win? And it must have been such a special moment.
No, it will be massively thing.
Trophy.
Because again, I speaking to Stevie from Road Race News, and he's obviously very good at counting things and working stuff out. He told me that there's only been 284 or 286 TT winners since 1907.
Wow.
It's a proper illustrious list to be on.
That's serious, that mind.
We're sort of into a stupid category of, I was going to say specialist. I'm not really a specialist.
No, you really are, though. It's the world's greatest motorcycle event, and you've run it. You've run
the hardest race in the world, and
See, it was back in the day. Whereas I suppose because we've been there and done it, and you never class it as hard, or you wouldn't fucking do stuff that's hard, would you? But it is.
Mate, don't ever downplay. You're trying to downplay it, but what you have done is absolutely phenomenal. But I tell you what, before we move on to the next subject, let's talk about that step from Billy McKinstry, that privateer situation, and then you're taking a step up to the RC Express team.
Yeah.
And I've got to get this in. I was on the phone to Ben, and he was talking about your first time riding for them at Cartagena, where you two actually met. Not sure it was that particular weekend where you decided to get on their Kawasaki's superbike and totaled the absolute shit out of it.
I wouldn't say it was my choice entirely. It played its part in it.
Was it mechanical, was it?
No, bollocks.
No, it was the fucking rev counter that caused it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, because it was telling me lap times. And when you get doing lap times, you think, oh, well, I've gone 2/10 faster on that lap, so I'll do this. Then you're like 3/10 faster. Oh, fucking hell, we're on it. And then you just get, I reckon maybe got to 140.2 or something. And then you have in your head, right, I'm going to go under 140 this lap. So you're just getting bigger and bigger bollocks and balls, and then just more aggressive with the throttle. And
so it's the lap timer's fault.
Yeah, it's lap timer's fault.
I love that. The actual look in your eyes, like, this is not my fault, Chrissy. This is really not my fault.
No, Tim on.
I'll tell you what, though, what a great way to build your first team, like, big team opportunity. That is brilliant. And now you and Ben were driving around bloody Spain trying to get a replacement.
Yeah, we went to his good lady's family live out there. And we had to go there for some painkillers and some drugs. And then was going round all the local bike shops to get a helmet that fitted and stuff because it trashed various things. And that was for sessions next day. I was pretty black and blue from that as well.
Oh my God, I bet you were. But broken toes is no joke. So the fact that you got back on the bike that weekend was absolutely brilliant. So I can imagine that being your bit of inspiration come May to think, right, let's get on it. New team, new bike. And you went and won that race. So I bet it was a bit like stuff you, Ben and Roy. That was a right good gig at that moment.
It's again, when you're there, I think in my head of riding for a team and stuff, you want to do well for yourself, but you also want to do for the lads who supported you and put you through all this. So,
of course.
So you're doing this for them. You want to stick your neck out for them. And I would always find that if you didn't want to do something, you would still want to do it because, like, say going back to Twin World, you'd have Adam in the Isle of Man putting massive time and effort into a bike, for you to go and go, well, I can't really be arsed with this, or go out and think, well, I can't be bothered, then what's the point in that? What's the point in him spending weeks and weeks and weeks developing a bike for you just to go, nah, I can't be fucking arsed.
I'll give it half throttle.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse.
No. So you just go and stick your neck out, and so you're sort of into a loop of pushing on all the time because you want to please everyone else.
And to be honest, in the racing world, that is the attitude to have. It is a team sport at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, massively.
But what was good for me was like stepping into that paddock. Like, to be very, like, we didn't know each other. You know, it was a bit like, hello, Ivan Lintin. You know, and he's like, who the fuck are you? And I think that's ongoing. But and so
well, I did think that when you turned up your driver.
That's it. Like, what a dick. No, but what was good for me looking at the paddock was that you and that team were. It was symbolic, without putting too much of a cliche on it. You were a proper bunch of friends going racing at a high level.
Well, it was going messing about with your mates. So we'd do everything together. It was going like holiday for your mates. Although we obviously raced in Macau and raced in Ireland, this, that, whatever. It'd be like, right, I'll come around your house tonight. We'll go from here. We'll catch a ferry here. You weren't like you going to work. You weren't doing anything. You was going for a laugh with your mates. But again, you would always try and be the one to win a race for your mates. That's how I used to be anyway.
With the RC Express team, you riding the Twin, obviously. Did they have a 600 and 1000 for you as well?
Yes. So originally, when Dean used to ride for them, they only had thousands only, I think.
Right.
So we're talking 14.
It would have been, wouldn't it?
Yeah, super stock and super bike. Whereas when I went, because I was quite good on twins, then they developed a twin, which I won that old gal on. And then the 600, I reckon, it had been 15 or 16? No, it must have been 15 because I did the 600 TT as well. Like.
And what were your best result on the bigger bike, like the 600 and the 1000?
I had a 7th at 14's TT on a 600. That was on Taylor Lindsay Honda.
I tell you what, they were beautiful bikes. Because now you rode a Fireblade for that lad as well, and you won the Gold Cup.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I won the Gold Cup on.
And that week, I think in that weekend, you only lost one race, but to Lee Johnson or something.
Yeah. I give him that one.
They are Lee. Yeah. Crack on, son. There you go.
Go and have 1-6. You can have one.
That must have been a hell of a weekend. So I think the thing is, I think everyone goes back to the same answer. Obviously, winning a TT is seriously iconic, but like, what was your second biggest achievement? Was it that Gold Cup race or?
I don't know, again, because I categorise racing as significant things for people. I would always say Ulster Grand Prix were fairly high up because I won 2 Ulsters for Billy McKinstry in 13 and 14.
Yeah.
And they were always quite good. You're doing it for Billy, a fairly old fella even then, in Ireland, just doing his own thing. And we were able to go and upset the apple cart in Ireland every so often, just rattling cages, really. It's quite good doing bits and bobs like that. But I don't reckon...
No, they're the moments I'm talking about. It's not about race win. Like, obviously, that was race wins, but it's like your greatest races. Like, the greatest race I've ever had have been like battling for 5th and 6th when there's like 4 of you going into a corner going, what the hell? And you could be at the back, and then if you're beating everyone in that 4, that's all that matters.
It's like, I don't now thinking now. That would have to be a proper Saturday thinking session, really, to analyse stuff and then think, well, I was thinking this, doing that there and then, and bits and bobs. But I've been none the wiser of what race that would be, really. Obviously, you get to a stage where wins are significant because it's so important for the team or people around you.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd always think in my head, that's the most important one because this and this sort of thing.
Yeah, totally agree. So after your first win on that, was your second win the year after?
Yeah, it was. Same
with RC Express?
Yeah.
And then you should have really won the year after as well, but the bike broke down, is that right?
No, that 18 it broke down. In 17...
was it the crank that went?
Yeah.
Was the crank, wasn't it?
It gave up.
Because James Cowan, his crank bust as well. People were dropping out like flies that race. It was just like the seriously front runner. I think James actually got to the 3rd position in that race, and then you were leading it, and it was just like, that's the thing when you're just watching it going, what am I watching?
When you're taking a bike that's sort of built for 60 horsepower and you're shooting the tits of it, they are a bit temperamental, aren't they?
Yes, see as well, the team, we didn't go down the crank route in 18, but after that, it snapped the crank at that race, and then at the Southern in 18 on the Twin, it also snapped the crank of the spare engine. So that's when the team sort of, right, we need to sort this.
And to briefly to explain to our listeners, like, let's talk price difference between a standard crank and a billet crank. What, you're the engineer. What is a billet crank?
A billet crank is a crank machined out of one piece of material, really. So the grain structure of the material stays at one. But we, as a team, looked at they got programs made to make their own, because basically you couldn't get one readily available off anyone.
Right.
And how they was looking at doing, if you get a piece of metal, to follow the grain structure thing, they would get a piece of metal probably 100 milli in diameter and then form it into a rough crank shape and machine it all off that. Because then the grain structure at molecular level will all be the grains going the right way to make it as strong as it possibly can be for that sort of shape.
Mm-hmm. There we are.
But the crank manufacturers sort of who designed it and said they would be good for 200 horsepower out of that crank. Not that you get a twin to 200 horsepower. But
one day, we never know, do we?
We never know. We're fairly near now.
Yeah, it's on the upward slope, isn't it?
Yeah, but how far can the upward slope ever go?
Mm-hmm. It's the same as like lap speeds, isn't it? Every year it gets faster. We've got some biscuit.
Oh, here we go. Hello.
Thanks so much.
Don't worry, we've already done the bit about talking about how amazing you've been and everything. So we got that, pulling that off a plaster straight away. So there we go. The good lady's walked in. And thank you for the biscuits.
Thank you very much.
There you go. I'm not trying to do a biscuit.
Go for that, really. Got to look after the figure.
Good man. So we got to your second win, and then you got to the bus crank, which was absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
You know, you can't argue with that. So, but let's talk about Macau a little bit. What year was your first year at Macau?
15. So again, the first year with the team, because the team had taken Dean over, I think, in 14. Mm-hmm. And when you sort of get into Macau, as long as you don't tumble off there, you end up in that circle. So you get invited back the year after, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So then as a team, they got invited back. And because I was the monkey riding it, I was the person who went back.
I know you're not a fan of Macau. You didn't like the track.
Well, no, it's just an incredibly scary place that you can't make any mistakes of anything, can you? You can't outbrake yourself. You can't bloody run wide. You can't do anything. You can't tip in too early.
Yeah, no room for error.
No.
So how many years did you do Macau then?
15, 16, 17, yeah.
No, you gave it a few bats, and for somewhere you didn't like, you gave it a few bats.
But again, you road racers, you race on roads, and it's like the last biggest road race going. So you're like, oh, I'll go out there and do that. And to be fair, when you go out to Macau, it isn't just you're there for the 4 laps. You're in a foreign country. You're there for a week before anything happens. Mm-hmm. Two, obviously, the time difference, and you sleep for bloody most of it. But then it's just quite nice going to a foreign country and sampling their way of being. And to be perfectly honest, I quite like car racing.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, like GT level car racing, and that what they do, brilliant.
Mm-hmm. If you had your time again, would you prefer to do cars? There's the question.
Well, no, I wouldn't say I may be prepared to do it, but if it was ever. If it was gifted to you. Oh, yeah, definitely do it.
Dom wasn't a big fan of the food when he was out there.
Oh, nah, I can't do it.
What, don't you like half-eaten rats? What's wrong with that?
No, it's the fish, the shrimp. Oh, nah, it wasn't for me. Anyway, we did an episode on it, and I think most of the comments under that interview was, Dominic's never getting a job on the tourist board for Macau.
I've never been. I would love to go watch.
Oh, it's
absolutely
brilliant.
Love to. Yeah,
like you say, the car. I tell you what, my favourite thing about the Macau thing is you watch the spectators and you watch the car events and you think, yeah, that's good. But I tell you what, every man and his dog is pressed up against the chainmail watching the bikes. Mm-hmm. Even all the car lads, like Michael Schumacher's son was there and stuff like that, and they're just going, this is incredible. And it is a proper experience to go watch. And the sun's got like early morning practice. Did you ever do that at the Manx?
No, it sort of petered out by the time I got there. But obviously early I don't know if they did at the Max. They must have done it at the Max as well as TT, but they used to have like 4 or 5 o'clock sessions, didn't they?
God, I would love to have
First light.
Like now, Gary Thompson even now threatens it, going, look, if we don't get enough practice, we'll do early morning practice. And I'm dead selfish. I'm the only one sitting there going, please run one. Imagine going down the road at the TD on a super bike at 5 a.m, like. I don't know why. I'd love to do it.
That would be the stupidness. Well, and how dry would the roads be at 5 o'clock in the morning?
There wouldn't be, but it's just the experience of doing it.
Yeah, but then it would be like, I've done an intermediate race and wet race round there. It is the most enjoyable.
You have done. I suppose you have done it. So there you go. You're telling me here.
Now, so you broke down in 2018 at the TT, and then do you know the post TT at the Southern 100?
Yeah.
Is there a pre TT and a post TT race?
Pre TT is a classic.
Classics.
You'll know about the classic.
Yes, aye.
And then post TT is for the
modern stuff
bikes.
afterwards.
Yeah.
It's 650, a 600 race, and a 1,000 race. Normally, is it still like that now?
No, I still do that now. So it's
okay, that's when I did it. It was like that.
I was about to say the last time I watched, I was going to enter, but I thought, no, let's just call it a day. The bikes are knackered, blah, 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 blah. And I regretted not entering that. I've never entered it, and I wish I did. Yeah, I really do. Because the last time I saw people flying around there was like William Dunlop, Rob Hodgson, and like it was just a gaggle of people for a weekend trying to make some money.
See again, you make some money. Back in the day when I won it in 11, you'd get £1,000 for winning. So you'd go there for a morning's fucking about, doing whatever you're doing, win £1,000. That's pretty brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, happy days. We want a few more of those mornings.
Yeah.
That you can't argue with those, can you? I think before we've kind of totally escaped the short circuit scene, that was all good. So was there anything that you felt like you didn't achieve on the short circuit scene? Was there any circuits that you wish you did and stuff like that? Because we were speaking to your mate down the road there, and it's like going to Spa. That's a circuit I would love to go to.
Oh,
Did you do anything?
Phenomenal.
You've done that?
Yeah. I've done it. I've done it on a 750 for Nige. Fitzgerald.
That's it. Now
I rode the 750 in 17 for in there.
Right.
One at the pre-TT classic, not TT, pre-Spa classic thing.
Aye.
It was like a classic bike festival. Like it's like 3 or 4 day event that they run. Classic parades, every classic session, like classic race from all around Europe go and race there.
Yeah. I think Guy goes out and does that sometimes.
Yeah, that's why he raced on B&B Suzuki's bike there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so is there any? Sorry. Anyway, is there any circuits that you wish you did? Now that is an accomplishment in itself. If you feel like you've done all the circuits that's brilliant.
No, but one I've never short circuit raced round is Brands Hatch.
You've never done that?
No, never done it. Never done it at the Indy circuit or GP circuit, anything.
It's a great circuit.
Is it?
Yeah. So the Indy circuit's a little bit Mickey Mouse. It becomes a little bit repetitive, and it's just because it's small. There's like 5 corners, but the Grand Prix track's unbelievable. Yeah, really good.
Have you ever been to watch at Brands?
No.
Now, I'm the same. I've never been around Brands on a motorcycle ever, and I've watched it on the telly and gone, all right, but when he won the championship, I went down to watch, and I just went, this looks... the telly never does any circuit any justice, does it? But when you're standing there, you're like, this looks good.
See, in 03, when I was supermotoring, I did a British Winter Series round down there on a supermoto.
Right.
No, not the full Indy circuit, but basically when you get to what's the first corner? Is it Paddock Hill?
Yeah.
So you get to Paddock Hill and you turn right before the tarmac goes, then you go off-road downhill, there's a jump down the bottom, then back onto the track, up and around the hairpin, then back down, you'd go off-road somewhere else, and you do the obviously half.
A few places, Croft I think does that, and Pembury has got like a little bit of a mix and match track where you go off-road and then back on and stuff like that.
Because they do that for rallycross and supermoto as well.
That's it.
Right, that's the crossover with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, man.
So got to the Southern 100 and obviously we're just talking just before we come on air about the crash, and you've actually, I think you brought the helmet. Do you want to...
It was absolutely... My giddy hand.
It's done its job.
It's done its job, yeah. And...
it's your lid there. Let's move them rich energy cans just for a moment. You're free to have one of those at any point, by the way. Freebie from the Allens.
So obviously this is a... successful AGV. It's done its job and we're still here. We're not pushing daisies up, but as you can see from there, it's got a crack fully through it. It's a carbon fibre Pista AGV. And again,
it's like you say, it is done its job, and it's
well, it's absorbed the impact. Like I thought, well, that helmet, it's very good. It did what it did, but then you think, well, has it failed? What's happened? Because it's physically cracked from the visor mount all the way around the back.
That is absolutely incredible. Like you say, when you flicking bits off here, but that is when if you go onto YouTube and look at that, but that I can physically opening that up.
Yeah,
that is how savage that crack is.
But like Motor Direct, who supplied me with a helmet, they were quite happy with the crack. They said that's done its job. It's absorbed the impact. It's dispersed it around the helmet. That's where the crack comes from. Right. So you're like we sort of good old helmet.
Yeah, no, it's definitely done its job, and it's like and sadly, like in that crash that you involved, we lost a friend, and we lost James. Yeah, and there was a few other riders involved in that crash, and it's Mike, do you remember much of the day kind of thing, or was it because
no? Again, this is following all this. Obviously, Google is your friend, and you turn into a brain scientist. I've got a medical report in that pile of paperwork, and it tells you where all the bleeds were and what bleed in the brain causes in that area and whatever. And one of them issue bits is memories. Yes. So my memory, short-term memory, is still it ain't bad show, is it? Do you reckon?
No, it's not too bad.
It ain't brilliant, like, but from the Southern 100, then I can remember nothing. I can't remember the ferry getting there. Do you know, like stuff where you'd go out for tea and this would happen and that's happened?
Yeah.
But I can remember the night before the crash, I cooked sweet corn on a barbecue for the tea. Right. And that's the only thing I can remember. And then the neuroscientists say that's because I had to explain it to so many people. You wrap it in kitchen foil, fold it and put it around the barbecue, and eventually 15, 20 minutes it'll cook because it'll steam itself and whatever. And nobody ever heard of that because we didn't have a saucepan. They all thought, well, we can't fucking cook sweet corn because we ain't got a saucepan. And I said, well, just wrap them up, put them around the edge. And they reckon that because I had to repeat it 6, 7, 8 times to various people, then it's lodged in a different bit of your brain. And obviously that little bit of brain there, wherever that's stored, didn't get any trauma.
And so that's your kind of last memory before the crash.
Yeah.
What's the first memory after the crash? What's that period of time?
I would say 8 weeks.
I would say more like when you was on Ashby Ward.
Do you want to come and join us, Sean?
Yeah, come and pull up a seat, yeah. Pull up. I was about to say bring a glass of wine. Bring a glass of wine. We'll get you nice and cosy there. But obviously, you have done.
Radio One dance anthem.
It is. Get involved. Get involved. But there you go. But honestly, you've gone now. We were speaking before the show and everything like that, and you two lovely couple only met 6 months prior. Was it 6 months prior to this?
Yeah. We've known each other a long time though.
Yeah. We've known each other probably 10, 12 years.
Yeah, but we sort of really got back in touch through our best friend Stu and Stace, and we met back in the December, didn't we? And then things progressed, and around January time, that's when we started taking things to the next level.
Fantastic.
So obviously then that was it, wasn't it? We was sort of in the romance period, and then you had the crash.
Well, you come to the TT, didn't you? So you sampled it all.
The craziness.
The deep end.
Oh, my life. I was like, stood like on the, obviously where you obviously can't go on the road, but he was like, fucking hell, they're so fast, I don't like this. Like holding on to Dave's hand.
Where was the first place you watched?
Oh my God, Dave will kill me for not getting this right. He taught me, I don't know.
Did you go on the bike somewhere? You went to Hilbury one night.
I think it was there.
Right.
I think it was there. He took me through these backfields of getting through everywhere, and he got bit to fuck. And he was like, and then we went somewhere else in a grandstand, and then obviously the race got called off again. And he was like, right, I'm not fucking taking you anywhere else. We'll literally watch it from the stop at the grandstand there.
Yeah, and that's all you're getting.
Yeah, because every time we went and travelled somewhere, it was the race stopped, and he was like, you're a bad omen. I'm not taking you anywhere again.
So were you did you watch racing before you went to the Isle of Man, before you met Ivan? Were you interested in racing? Really?
No.
Right.
Yeah, So you thrown in at the deep end.
You really, really were. And it's like the first time I got to meet you, obviously, the crash happened and you went through a huge rehabilitation. I saw the pair you walking through the BSB paddock, and that for me was like, wow. It was like,
you've gone through such a long journey, because when I wasn't at that race event, and that's actually, I'm going to be very open with you, that was one of my biggest regrets, was not being, I didn't have the money to be there, and I wish I was.
Yeah.
But hearing of your condition and the torture that you went through with your injuries, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, can do.
It's like,
can I just you mentioned about the 8-week period? So for that 8 weeks, were you in a coma for a little bit?
You was in a coma for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
2 weeks, yeah, and they obviously brought you around.
They put me on track, so they put me into a coma on track, and then it took them like an hour and a half to stabilise me enough to airlift me. So they put me in the ambulance, ambicopter, took me to the Isle of Man hospital. But the team actually beat me there. Not that it was racing me, but
a race team racing into the hospital. Yeah.
They knew that I was going to go there because it's the only hospital there. But they sort of got briefed when they scanned me and done bits and bobs. They got briefed. Well, we're speaking to the neuro specialist in the UK because if Ivan stays here, basically he'll die.
Wow.
And with that, Aintree took me, or willing to take me. So then they put me in a jet and flew me over in a jet. Then I was ambicoptered from Liverpool Airport to Aintree Hospital.
Wow.
And then I was there for a bit, wasn't I?
Yeah, you was there for a few weeks.
There for 3 weeks.
And then you went to Nottingham, and then you went to...
Have you had a chance to, all this time after, have you ever had a chance to meet any of the people that were sort of involved in any of that journey?
You used to go back to the Lincoln County ward, didn't you? For a lot of their... sometimes they put like raffles and get-togethers on, which was quite nice because you went to a couple of them. No, not really.
I haven't been to Nottingham or Aintree anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
And
maybe won't mind going but then what do you ever talk to? They've sort of, not that there is the job, but they've saved you. And that's what they're qualified and what they're paid to. They're very good at the job, and that's why we're still here. So, well done. What do you go and tap them on the back, say,
thanks.
Oh, well done, thank you very much.
That's it. And what about, and for that sort of 8-week period, what was your experience? Like, what were you sort of being told, and what was your sort of experience at the time?
Everything was just a little, I don't know, everything was such a bit of a blur. But I remember one of my best friends told me, because her husband was literally in near enough the same sort of accident. He got the same brain problems and brain injuries, and so she said to me from the word get-go, take a diary and write down every day progress, no progress, your feelings. And you know what, doing that actually got me through that whole period of I haven't been in hospital. I mean,
wow.
I mean, I'm a mum as well, so what was...
This is a walk in a park compared to being a mother. There you go. This is easy.
But to be fair, I think my daughter, she got me through all those weeks because it was 3 days spent in, when he was in Liverpool, 3 days spent there. Then I'd come home and just be normal and trying to keep everything as normal as possible. But knowing in the back of your mind when you're being told by nurses, doctors that, Ivan might not ever pull through, or he won't walk, or he won't talk, and you just... those days of being at home was kind of like, I'm forgetting about. Not like forgetting about.
No, we totally agree. It was like, I've got another job to do.
Yeah. And, not for a second thought did I think that I could walk away from, Ivan or whatever the outcome was going to be, because I just thought, we've just got to get through this. And yeah, for a while when you did wake up and you couldn't talk, and you just think, all right, okay, right, well, that's definitely not happening then. He's definitely not going to ever talk again. But yeah, you just powered through everything.
Must have been incredibly emotional times, and
really was. And we had such a good unit. We had your mum, dad, and my mum and dad, and Dave and Joe and Ben and Christiane and Danny and Roy. Each one of them, you used to come down all the time to Aintree, and like near enough every day someone was sat with him. And it kind of like just takes the emotion off you a little bit, because you're all sort of sharing the same experience. And I never felt alone. But yeah, it was just, it was an awful time. I mean, even still to this day, like, when sometimes the anniversaries come up and I'm a bit like, I feel a bit sad today. But
yeah,
look where we are. Look how far he's coming.
It is. You were saying just off air there as well, when you were first coming round that year with the injury. the short-term memory
Yeah, he
effect,
just forgot.
It sort of didn't.
He didn't know you. He didn't really, I remember you waking up and just being a bit like, oh, who's this sat at the end of my bed?
I like the look of it, but who the fuck is it?
I know. That's what he was like.
I was checking her out, really. That's pretty cool.
Sorry, now that we're alone, are you single? I'm right. I know we've just met, but you look rude, like.
Didn't quite go like that. He couldn't talk. It was more like trying to sign it to me.
He was thinking it. Look, have a look at that. Oh, we can tell he's a road racer. Look at that, Jesus.
But it's true though, because he just didn't even know who. It wasn't true about that. It wasn't. He didn't know who it was, and I just remember the nurse sort of just saying, it's okay, keep at it. And she used to say, if you show him the same photographs every day, so you should pick like 5 photographs and show him the same ones every day, and it will sort of then start to try and like jog his memory back, and it did. It did. Sometimes, it took a while, but yeah, we got there.
Fair play.
We've actually had a few messages recently on the page of people who are currently injured and are finding it really difficult. Would you say that keeping a diary is that?
Oh God, yeah.
Like a daily progress diary. That's
daily progress, even if it's just about yourself and how you're feeling that day. But yeah, it helped me loads, because I would read back and go, oh, yesterday was a shit day, but look what he's done today. And it's just, even though I had people to talk to, sometimes you felt like, sometimes I felt like a burden. So writing everything down from the morning to the evening of that day, it does help. It helps loads. I would suggest people do things like that. Ever in that situation.
The world is a small, scary, but it's like your friend unfortunately went through the same injury list as what I did. But like, you're like, honestly, for what you went through it, no wonder you put a ring on it. Congratulations again. No wonder you got engaged.
Well, congratulations for that. Tell us about that. How it was I bet it was an emotional.
I bet it wasn't. I bet it wasn't. Will you marry me? It was like, you deserve this.
And a tap on the back. Like,
how did you propose?
Do you want to go?
Well, yeah, it was a back in where
we went on first date.
Yeah, first date. So
it was like Lincoln Castle, wasn't it?
Lincoln Castle. So we went for the nice romantic walk around the wall. It was lovely. On first date, the engagement wasn't so romantic.
Oh God, yeah. No, yeah. So we went. So we go there. Well, we went there on the first date, and then on our 2nd year anniversary, we went there and we took my little girl, and we thought, this is quite a nice thing to make a habit of doing this. And we'd been round this wall walk 2 or 3 times, and I remember him saying, because you proposed in November, and I remember him going, "Oh, next time Teagues is at her dad's, we'll go into town again." I thought, all right, okay, well, we're in lockdown. Do you know what I mean? But hey ho, he wants to obviously go for a walk. And I remember that morning he went, "Show, are you getting ready?" And I thought, oh, weather's a bit shit outside, babe. I says, "Can we just stay in and watch the TV?" And he was a bit like, "No, we're going to go. We're going to go from..." No, actually, previous to that, a week before that, he was like, "Oh, what do you fancy about doing the wall walk again?" I went, "I'm not fucking doing that again. I've done it so many times." So that's obviously what...
So another plan in my head. And when that plan failed because she didn't want the wall walk, I thought, well, I'll get a nice... There was some plastic domes up there or something. You go for a nice drink and a nice meal, looking out over the castle. So I thought that'd be lovely. And then full lockdown come on, so that got cancelled.
Yeah. So we just went for a walk, didn't we? Just round in the grounds, and then then you proposed. But afterwards, he was like, "Well, this was a fuck up from the start. One, you didn't want to go on the wall walk, and 2, Boris Johnson fucked the other one up because we couldn't go out for a meal." But it was a good day.
Oh well,
it was a good day.
Well, I think I honestly, for 2021, you two are a super couple. Like for what you've been through.
So
when do you drink wine? I'm jealous. I want one myself.
It's so nice to have that all booked in and look at something to really look forward to.
Definitely
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I tell you what, but also you've got a 4-page depth of your injuries, and like I say, when you walked around that corner at the BSB event, it was just absolutely brilliant from from what you've been through and what everyone's been through, I'm well done. You know, together, well done. You and the whole team.
I congratulate like them more than me, really, because obviously you're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
But it's all the people that's put up with all my shit, not remembering stuff, not bloody doing stuff.
How long after the crash until you could say like walk unaided? What sort of recovery?
Oh,
You'll
God.
know better than me.
Oh, I don't know. You had a crutch for a while.
I've seen a video of you. You went to the fire service place in Penrith.
Yeah.
Were you living there, or were you just spending days?
No. We got there. You had a week up there,
Right.
and obviously you got that because we were firemen in normal life.
Yes.
And they got me walking normally. So the first time I went up, you obviously do the rehabilitation, do what they can with you. But because it was the first time there, they didn't really know what you could do and couldn't do. You're sort of learning. They're doing various bits with you. But then the second time they went up, they put me on what they call an anti-gravity treadmill. It's people, obviously with various fire injuries or various injuries of anything. On this anti-gravity treadmill, they basically, you wear a fancy pair of shorts and they zip you into an airbag. The treadmill, you get on the treadmill and it'll weigh you, and then the airbag will blow up and take either the full weight off your legs or only 10% or 20% or whatever. And you just walk on it like normal. So you can walk on it with no weight on your legs, so no hobbling in theory. They'll get you to walk normally. And they said, oh, we'll teach you how to walk again. And you think, well, that's a fucking load of shit. I know how to walk.
Well, did you always have the mindset from day, like even when the surgeons and stuff were saying, you know, you might not walk, did you always have the mindset of like, I'll show them, like I definitely will?
Oh, yeah. I'm of the mentality that
unless you fail, then you'll just keep doing it.
Yeah. Until
So
I'm
it wasn't
in
a question of if, it was just when.
Yeah.
The only thing he nearly packed up on was that engagement. You know, he was running out of options at that point.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he nearly gave up on right there.
She nearly got it in the living room. There you go. All right. I'll just...
Careful.
I'm not engaging you, but this is happening.
You nearly got it there.
Oh, wow. What a treat.
Like, imagine like that. Catch. Love you.
Yeah. There you go. Or a text message, left some on the side. There you go. Enjoy it.
LOL.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, so we're talking about rehabilitation.
Yeah, so the treadmill thing, they sew you into this bag and you just get walking along. And they said after 5,000 steps, they'll be recalibrating your head out to walk. And honestly, I did it the first time, unzipped myself, and you still hobbled. And I said to you, well, that's a fucking load of shit what they're coming on with. You don't need to tell me how to walk. I know how to walk.
Yeah.
But because, they said this to me, because you've hobbled for so long, your head then gets programmed to hobble in. So to move, your body hobbles. Okay, get there, so you'll hobble along. Right. So we did the Monday, still unzipped myself, hobbled. Second day, again, did 5,000 steps, unzipped myself, hobbled. And then Wednesday this would be, zip myself into the bag. She said, right, we'll try 6,000 steps this time. So obviously increase the air and whatever, just take a bit more weight off your legs so you can do it. Did 6,000 steps. She said, right, try and walk across there, unzip myself out and walk straight across the gym.
Wow.
That is incredible.
And they said, that's retaught you how to walk. And you think, wow, why has that just happened? Why is that even a thing?
I bet there's been so many things along the road of recovery which have been like big milestones that have just felt like, you know, like you've won the lottery each time. And I bet, obviously walking was a big milestone. Was there anything else that sort of stands out as...
When you first started talking was a big milestone. So I remember when you had the trachea in, and they took it. Yeah, so then they took it out, and then they used to put some. I can't remember what it was called, but they used to like put some sort of attachment on that used to sense the vibration in your throat to talk, and it just wasn't working. And that's when we thought, oh my god, this, you know, he's not. He isn't going to talk. But I can't really remember the moment when you did start saying things, but a lot of things for a while was noises. It was a bit like and pointing to things, but I can't remember exactly the moment when you did start talking.
It just naturally, because you're living together, it was probably that natural progression of it just happening.
Well, we haven't. We didn't live together when it was your accident. No, I mean, it's only been the past 8 months that we've actually lived together.
Yeah. It was another tick in the box of progress in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're moving the one that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, so
And if you think we was together only 6 months before his accident, so he wasn't ever in that stage where anything was serious. It was
that was deep end without the armbands. That might.
I know. Threw me in at the deep end.
My.
What do you mean? Very nice.
Oh God, I hope you two don't break up after this. Imagine that chat up the way going, cheers, Tom. You did. Oh my giddy aunt. But like the mad thing is, you where you were to like you had an interview with Aunt Middleton for US. I'm not staring at your tits. It's on your top. It's USN.
Yeah.
They are. So, and that was one of your sponsors. They are product placements. Took that all over the place. But you had an interview with Aunt Middleton, and your speech is like coming. What's the matter? They're a lovely pair of tits. Can we not talk about a tit a little bit? They're fantastic. No, when you get married,
dare.
Don't
Saw that hand move.
Oh, God, get on with it, bye. Get on with it. This is road racing crack, not being. This is we're complimentary about each other's wives. Straight off the bat. There you go. I've totally lost my train of thought. That's your fault. So yeah, so yeah, you got interviewed by Aunt Middleton, and you were like an athlete. You were a supported athlete by that product, and so was he. And like watching it on YouTube and how your progression every time in every different interview, and it was just getting. Then you got the job. You got your job back, didn't you?
Yes.
Both jobs.
How long after you crashed did you start working again?
11 months. I went back to work.
Yeah,
because I sort of maybe wished I didn't go back. I like to go back because it's a ticking box for going back, but.
Well, you was heading for things, wasn't you?
Yeah.
So you was like, but I need to get back because I need to get back to work, and you sort of threw yourself into that. But like I think you was going to say, I think you maybe threw yourself in too soon.
Yeah, like I've still got, and it's a bit of an issue now, the pin slim my leg. So I used to quite like running and keeping fit, whereas running now caused me a massive amount of pain because of where the pin is in my leg.
Yes,
But they had always said to me that they'll take the pin out at 12 months. But I sort of said to them, well, no, hold off. I didn't want to go back to work for 4 weeks and then break my leg again taking the pin out, because while they take them out is fairly aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of metal getting removed from your body.
Well, I say to them, because you're engineers, I said, but I could take that on myself. Just give me some local anaesthetic. I had screws taken out my knee because they hadn't counted someone come in well enough, where every time I knelt down, obviously you're fitter, so you're kneeling down, I used to kneel on screw heads. So I'd got them to take the 2 screws out, but again, they did it under local. They thought I was going under general. I said, no, I was told this under local. I don't want to be under general again. You're only taking 2 screws out. So I agreed to sign the document for local anaesthetic.
Get him.
And they injected my knee with local, and he got his 1/4-inch drive backhoe socket set out.
Backhoe, I love it. I can remember the backhoe. Like,
Well, no, that's the only thing I do remember, because we have that at work.
I love that, you cheap bastard. Get the Milwaukee out.
So he got his backhoe socket set out, and they'd already warned me. They said, if this hurts, tell me. And of course, he sliced my knee to get to the screw heads, and he hadn't maybe fully injected it enough anyway. That hurt a bit. And the nurse saw me wince. He said, oh no, he can feel that, get some more in him. I was like, well, no, I said, it's okay. Because again, didn't mind a bit of pain, bit of hassle, bit of this, bit of that. But yeah, then because I was awake, you got talking to the doctors and stuff of how they do things. And how they get the pin out your leg is they use your 1/4-inch backhoe socket set to get the screws out, and then they backhammer the pin out. And of course, we use backhammers at work for taking dowels out machines and stuff. So I said, if you give me some local anaesthetic, because I could do this at work.
No problem, Mr. Linton.
Well, no, but they genuinely wouldn't tell me what local anaesthetic was. I was like, just tell me what breed it is. And I said,
You're a rare one.
You are a fantastic creature. Never change. I'm telling you, that is absolutely outstanding. So are you still getting ongoing treatment at the moment? With,
No. With the COVID juggle act, I should have had a 2-year assessment. But again, they haven't done it, but I haven't really pursued it because they'll be doing more important things than fucking about with me, really. Yeah. But one thing I would like them to do, really, is take the pin out. If I ever go back or speak to any of them, I would like the pin taken out, really.
And in terms of, finishing off the recovery, are you sort of finished that road to recovery other than the pin now?
Yeah, I don't think that, personally, I don't think he's going to get any better. Like, I pick up on his speech and I do.
My speech gets worse as I get more and more tired.
Right.
End up
But also,
swirling
like,
drunk.
I just feel like when...
I'm the exact same, to be fair, so there's nothing wrong with it. I'm the exact...
But I can tell, you do get muddled up quite a lot. You do. That's why I don't think that is only going to get any better.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's just general, like, again, the whole movement thing. I can't jump off anything because, again, it's massive pain when I jump. I've got an incredibly flat or bending the wrong way left foot, haven't I? Because of how they've set the bones, really. My ankle is like that. I can't smell or taste anything.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just the bang on the head thing,
From
yeah.
the bank, right.
Right.
Because
your
again-
cooking will be fantastic then, is it?
Oh, yeah.
He's a pro.
Amazing.
Can it honestly
Gordon Ramsay.
not
over
smell,
there.
Nigella Lawson.
not smell or taste anything?
Nigella?
I love her. She's
Nigella
got...
Lawson,
she-
is it?
Google that.
Nigella Lawson?
Yeah, no, Google
her
that.
name?
Oh, no,
Yeah,
oh,
Nigella.
Oh, yeah, right, so I'm okay with that. Shit then.
Nigella's the one that she never wears a
got-
bra and she's always
got
I
very
didn't know her
just as well.
surname. That's why I'm a bit like...
as well. She's often like using sexual innuendos, and she's like no bra, and she'll be like pick some cream and like just be very flirtatious.
Yeah, it's...
In fact,
That's nice.
Nigella,
No, I don't cook like
That's
that.
nice cream.
the other day there was a the meme went viral the other day because she was talking about something, and do you know you've got the a microwave.
Oh,
everyone
she
would think- and she said, so I'll just put the cream in the microwave.
I did see
Yeah,
that
she went
one.
viral for that. Yeah, that's Nigella.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm no Nigella.
Absolutely brilliant, man. But no,
No.
I tell you what, right? One of our friends, and he was James's best friend. Aidan Robinson. He owns a company, ITRM. Have you ever heard of it? Aidan, I tell you what, seriously, the amount of when James got wrapped up in the 11th milestone, he came. Remember when he got wrapped up in the hay bale and horse came by him? Aidan flew out and got him in that Super Twin race.
Okay.
That following week, I tell you what, he's got James Toslin's gone through like a serious rebuild on his hand. He hasn't been able to ride a bike. He's back on a bike now.
Right.
Honestly, Aidan, and what reminds me of you and James all the time in the back of is like I was about to say workshop. I'm used to thinking of bikes, but his client room, and he's still open at the moment. There's a huge canvas of you and James together.
Okay.
And it's just symbolic of racing.
I mean, we was for years, me and James, at the same sort of level, hammer and tongs in Twin World mostly.
Of course. But same with the 600s, you were always passing each
the
other.
same sort of levels and same lap times and stuff. I mean, in the 600 race at the TT, I did my fastest ever lap because I was basically racing on the road with him, but I would be faster to a certain bit, then he would overtake me, then I'd be like, right, you're faster than me through here, so I'll follow you, and then we'll get to Ramsey Hairpin, then I'll outbrake him, then he'll follow me over the mountain, sort of thing. Sort of working as a team to increase lap times. That was last lap of the 600 race, my fastest ever 600 lap.
That's it. But both on Kawasaki's at that point as well. He was on for the McAdoo team, and it's like, see what I like about you two is the fact that like I was never at your level. And James's level, never was, but James, like, cause I knew with Croft and a bit more locally, like being a proud Yorkshireman that he was definitely light one, but like I always looked up to James and just went like, that's what you need to take that step. He wasn't at the the top, you know what I mean?
No.
But he was on the climb as well as you were on the climb, and it just shows that respect is built.
Oh,
And the pair of you, you know what I mean, just went bup, 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 and it was just, and that crash was just life changing for everyone, and especially yourselves. And
Do you know, in terms of life after your rehab and stuff, have you picked up any sort of new hobbies or interests, or are you, any sort of sporting activities or anything?
Well, again, I if we was going to go racing at all, I would want to go watch some car racing. I would say that is a lot to do with T-Balf, who used to sponsor me. Sean, they run a McLaren at GT level, British GT and stuff, and now they run a GT3 McLaren, but they've got GT4 McLarens that they run for customers and bits and bobs. But I've been to 2 rounds of GT series since this. Been to Spa to watch GT racing at Spa, and just it's quite good.
What I quite like about, you mentioned about life after, your accident and stuff, but we've mentioned plenty of times that we like normal. Me. I've always had like a normal life, so all that racing.
Kiss
thing
like goodbye.
was
You're
just,
part of this world.
I know, but that's what you've said.
No,
Like,
I do
we've had
genuinely
time.
like normal life because, especially being sponsored by USN and being sponsored by a nutrition firm, you have to be fit. You have to watch what you eat. I mean, not that you're sticking to a strict diet, but I'd have a calorie. Yeah, one of them.
It's a bad word. Don't use it. Eating calories is bad. Bad.
Just at certain levels of that. So you'd always have to watch what you eat, and you'd have to go to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week and run this. And like now, it's a bit different because I can't taste anything, but we can go for a drink and eat what you want whenever you want, and little bits and bobs like that. I class that as normal life because anyone would be able to do that.
But we had time. We made time to just go out and do things for us, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't any planning around you having to go racing for weekends and weekends away, and
it is normal life is quite nice. Not that you wouldn't remember what normal life was previous, but normal life now is quite nice.
But do you think, have you got any sort of interest in ever riding a bike? Not necessarily racing, but just...
I ride a bike to work.
Are you
Good
back
lad.
on the roads?
Yeah.
Right,
I've got a little Lex Moto Riot, which is like a MSX Honda.
Yes. I think Lex Moto were the highest selling manufacturer in 2020 in the UK by quite a bit as well.
Yeah, and it is just it does 50 mile an hour. I mean, when I got it, I scared myself and thought...
on the drive, you're 30 miles, not even 30 miles an hour.
No.
You only got on it, you're like, fucking hell.
Well, no, I genuinely thought, because the wheels were small, it was quite flighty. Mm-hmm. But when I got on it, because you just recovered from an injury, you haven't rode anything for 2 years, I was like, fucking hell, it's a bit fucking scary. You think you're going to tumble off it all the time. And I didn't, but then speaking to people who got them, they said they're all like that.
They are.
Because it would follow tracks in roads and stuff. And any crack anywhere, it would bloody, we go this way. But now I'm used to that. It's like, I'm not a dibbly still.
Yeah, if someone gave you a BMW S1000, that'd be a sofa for you now, mate. After riding that thing, I'm telling you.
But it's just quite good fun. I say I live 2.5 miles away from work, but just nipping on that 2.5 miles is quite nice, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to hear, because the thing is that the race, like, you have such a huge fan base, you know, you're such a likeable, lovable character. And what's brilliant about when you say normal life, it's... this world is very much yours as well as ours, you know, and it's always, and that's like, I remember speaking, like, I'm racing for Fran now and for Counting Racing on the Oliver's Mounts 600s TT and everything. And like Chloe, and the same thing is, and they know as well as you know that this world is always open to you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a part of your lives, and I think that is so important to remind, not you lot, just everyone listening, that people never ever forgotten. It's such a community, and that I think we should call this a community podcast. I think we mentioned the word community over the last 6 bloody episodes. It's unreal, but it is right though, isn't it? Yeah. But what's great is people be listening to this going, how Ivan doing, and it was great because, like, seeing in your garage there, you've got one of John Chapman's bikes, and John Chapman always speaks so highly of it. He's on the back of his van with a chicken race in front of you on the 250, and you've got a Gixxer 1000. Is it a Gixxer 1000 engine?
Gixxer 1000 engine. That I'm rebuilding, that's for a grass track car. So that's rebuilding an engine for someone, because you do a bit of that on the side. But again, that's from years of doing it, your own stuff, because you haven't got the money to pay a tuner. Yeah. You sort of learn how to rebuild engines, and obviously there's quite a few people in the country who can't build an engine, whereas super twin engines, I'd build them 10 a penny, bore throttle bodies, got a milling machine and a lathe in there and stuff.
Would you be interested in getting back into like a race team in that sort of respect, in terms of like mechanicking and sort of tuning engines and stuff? Is that not?
Maybe would, but again, it would just be to get into that facility to be able to walk away. If you get sort of sucked in, it'd be okay going for a team, but then if it's a team that would go to the TT, then you've got to wait 2 or 3 weeks there. You've got bloody week at the Ulster, then this and that, and then you only get so much holiday from work, and obviously that holiday is for us flying to Florida and all.
Normal life stuff.
Normal life. But I think that's what you appreciate now, though, isn't it? Like before, when you had your accident and your recovery, that's all you ever focused on was, I need to get a better show because I've got to go back racing. And for a long time, that was your mentality. There was nothing else. You wouldn't see anything else. You wouldn't see family. You know what I mean? There was no family there. No, nothing was stopping you from wanting to get back on this bike. And then I think reality hit, and I think once we sort of spent more time together and you realised the extent of your injuries, that you was like, I fucking love this normal life. I love no pressure. I love not having to go away all the time. I love just us going out and doing what we want when we want.
Brilliant.
And I think, you know, and like now you love going and pottering around in your garage because that was time that you never really got to do.
No.
You never did. And like when we all go out as a family now, and
I mean, especially now we've just got a new place, DIY Central.
Well, that's what happens when you buy a house.
Yeah.
It is the never-ending show, isn't it?
I like stuff like that.
Well, actually, funny enough, we're not being antisocial. We're looking at our phones because we've got like a Patreon page and people ask questions for you and stuff like that. And I've got a 130 Club page and stuff like that for people asking. But typically,
Are you in the 130 Club?
I'm not. Hence, like, so I've set up this club. And, oh no, it's
Are
like
you faster than me then? I'm nowhere near the 130.
All I'm going to tell you is, it's like forevermore. I'm scared of telling everyone. It's like saying to a girl, "I nearly gave you an orgasm." I was so close, but no one remembers the people. I was so close. So unfortunately, I didn't quite get there. So the club was set up to obviously trying to get me the funding to get a bit more track time to take that next step. So set up a 130 Club page, and so I've got one question, and unfortunately we have answered every single one through the natural progression. So Cammy Patterson, obviously you've listened to this by now and you've answered that question. Just all about your rehab and how you feel and everything. So yeah, brilliant. And Chrissy's got a few here.
I think where they say, I've got one from Jack Turner. As a super turn specialist, what is your view on the eligibility of patterns, which we're talking about straight away, and the Kramers, Norton, Tigcraft, etc. And then, what was the Tigcraft like to ride? And we've talked about that.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I reckon they should open it up. No point having horsepower limits, no point restricting this, because it's too difficult to police, and ultimately people try and juggle around stuff, don't they? And program stuff and make stuff to, in theory, cheat, because they're not towing the perfect rule book. So just to make it simple, just...
Now that sort of happened in Superstock 1000 a few years ago, and basically you weren't allowed. I'm not that technical, but you weren't allowed kit electronics, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And back then, I think my best results was kind of like 9th, 10th, my first year in Stock 1000.
Yeah.
The following, and I was always like, say, maybe a second off the pace. And then the following year, they opened it up so you could run kit electronics.
Yeah.
And the fastest lap times didn't really improve, but I went from being a second off the pace to being like right up the front. And Stuart Higgs actually said in the meeting, we're opening the rules up, like what you've just said. We're opening the rules up because we can't really police them properly. No. So we're going to open them up so everyone can doing it. And it was interesting. And now it could just be a coincidence, the fact that lap times at the front didn't get any faster, and I'd
pulled your finger out.
We had standard electronics the first year, and then they opened the rules up so you could run kit, and all of a sudden I gained a load of time. But it did make us wonder, and especially with Stuart, I wasn't even aware.
This is what you needed. You needed all the electronics to make you ride it faster, so you needed someone else to do the work, because you couldn't do it yourself.
maybe.
Savage.
And that's the show.
My job.
Now get off my fucking drive.
But you know what I mean?
Mate, that's mint. That's the episode. Mic drop with Ivan Lintin. That's awesome.
But like the twin is nearly evolving intact, because they're giving him a rev limit. But I know ways of getting around rev limits.
We'll have a chat after this.
No, there'll be means and ways of tricking stuff. You can have a bike running to 12,000 RPM, flick a switch that you can't see or the scrutineer can't see, and then it'll be 10,500 for the dyno run, then flick it back and it'll be 12,000.
I tell you what I'm looking forward to is the next TT email, from like Frank Raffle Jr. with a rolling dyno gun, can all bikes.
Like that.
Right.
One switch.
Even in car world, they'll be able to do stuff like that.
All right. Interesting.
Because I know Scott Smart went, after he finished racing, he went into so he sort of polices World Superbikes.
Okay.
So he sort of uses that sort of knowledge to make sure that all the rules are fair, and he's chief technical inspector or whatever it's called. But it's if you've got plenty of knowledge in that might be a cool job to make sure, if you know all the tricks of the trade, to make sure that everyone's toe in line.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be great. Ivan Lintin there with his clipboard gun. I know you. I tell you, that's the best thing about Friday. Straight as a bloody arrow.
Just be little bits. I say it can just be a switch, or you link something out, and the second you linked out, it could just be a piece of wire there. You link it out against something, then it'll trick something in ECU world to change something back to stock, or there'll be various ways.
I like
That's
it.
that's often the case why more open classes. Sometimes if it stops that sort of cheating, doesn't it?
That's what I mean.
Everyone can do everything. type of thing.
They're literally free for all. Do whatever you want and just carry on.
I would offer you we've just been given some rich energy drinks, but obviously without no taste, you'll be sort of it'll taste like anything else.
There we go.
There's a can there, so there's a can there, so feel
You'll still
free.
have the most expensive bloody food on the menu.
Really?
No, you like what you like.
Damn right, never drop your standards.
No,
son.
not like if we. I'm going to show my standards now. If you go to McDonald's and we get a McDonald's burger, I would, if I had a choice, I would take the cucumber
You
and
still
tomatoes
do.
out. Yeah,
You still do, even though you can't taste them.
Yeah.
because you don't like them. So why would you eat something you don't like?
So is it the texture you don't like?
Well, no, it's the taste why you don't like it. I would if you made it, if you went to your house, I assume you got a good lady.
Called Karen.
Okay, right.
Lovely woman.
No.
My mum's my good lady.
Yeah. So she made us a lovely
Got
tea.
a bit of a job on our hands with this lockdown, Ivan. It's tough times at the moment.
I tell you, no, honestly, I've moved in with him. You see,
A totally
honestly, so
different.
Karen's got to look after the pair of us because obviously lockdown and all that shite.
There's a total different new meaning to dry January.
Don't spit. Well, you can spread that everywhere.
I tell you what, we are.
Go on, Ivan. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, your good lady make us a lovely salad. I'd quite happily eat salad because I can't taste it.
Right.
But I wouldn't have cucumber and tomato. I just use that as an example. But then when we went to Dave and Joe's for that Leroy. Went to Leroy. We all got a shot of Aftershock or whatever, and I used a shot of Aftershock as mouthwash. Just literally gargled it around mouth, swilled it around mouth because you can't fucking sense how.
Imagine people at the other side of the bar looking at him going, fuck that fuck, I can drink on it.
I bet you were relieved as well when you first realised Ivan couldn't smell. So when you first get with somebody and you feel awkward about
spend a
pumping in front
fortune
of
Oh
them.
my god,
You're
yeah.
just-
I get away with all of that. After the toilet, farting, I can't sniff a thing.
It's just when you see you do that, you're like, what's she leaving all there?
Cut my leg off.
It's the yoga classes here. It's the yoga. It's all about the yoga.
Well, I tell you what, we've got just before we shoot, we'll put these on YouTube. So it's recorded as a video for YouTube, but also as a podcast. And if you comment in the YouTube video, you win a Chasin the Racin face mask, and we've got a bag.
You got to comment Nigella.
Chasin the Racin bag.
Tits.
Imagine like 60 odd comments with tits.
So,
What the fuck is going on here?
yeah, any comment will go. But
Preferably tits.
we've got to say thanks so much for being
time,
such great sports, and honestly I've loved chatting to you both. It's great to see. It's great to see you so fit and healthy and happy as well.
Pep in your step. Plenty of pep in your step. There you are. That is a saying,
What
isn't
do you
it?
reckon pep is?
No, pep in your step. You know, pep. You got some pep in your step. Is that? I've made this up, haven't I?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
All right, God, I have made that up.
Pep in your step.
You got some pep in your step. You got some go about your pep in your step. Please, someone, please. I have been wrong so many times before. This is fine. You know what I mean?
I've never heard that one.
I love it now. The best thing about this conversation is it was a killer of a conversation at the beginning of the episode, and now I have finished the episode with this other killer. So
Should we fuck off?
yeah, you should have.
go.
Totally understandable. Honestly, yet again.
Commando
Thank you
roll. 3,
so-
2, 1.
Honestly, thank you so much for coming on. It's been
Thank you
absolutely
very
great.
much.
Big thanks to our patrons and big thanks to our sponsor, Colchester Kawasaki. Take care and catch up soon.
See you in a bit.
Thank you.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasin the Racin.